So the last so the wrap up for the buyers and the vendors section of purchasing is that they both work in a unit. So the uh, the buyer, they need to be aware of who their vendor is and what what products they have and stuff along those lines. And yeah, I believe that's it. So here's Hannah for her section.
So my first section is Hannah, by the way, sorry. My first section is the methods of purchasing. There's two types of principal method of buying. One is informal or open market buying, and the other is formal competitive bid buying. Both can be used in various ways for different situations. Purchasing is a management level job, and they do have policies and procedures to help guide them. They have to follow policies, and depending on the size of operation, the amount of money available, where the vendors are located, and how often they receive deliveries. Oh no. Informal or open market buying. This is the buying is normally used for smaller food service operations. Quotation is where the system involved orders the food or supplies needed from a select list of vendors based on the daily, monthly, or weekly quotes. Quotation is the amount stated as the current price for a desired product or service. The buyer can request daily prices of fresh fruits and vegetables, but use a quotation list for a grocery list. Contact options can be like you can use the fax, computer, telephone, or through sales representatives. And time to time, it's good to change up your vendor so you can get better prices, because it's better to match your prices. And then formal competitive bid buying. Formal is where the vendor have an invitation to quote prices for certain items in a time frame provided. The request is listed in a newspaper in a quiet, formal way, and the vendor that offers the best price is the one who is awarded. Buyers and private organizations may select the company who bidded and invite them to bid. Advantages for this include that bid buying may be required by government procurement systems found in larger food service or multiple unit organizations. The formal bid needs to be clear to minimize the possibility or misunderstandings occurring the regard to quality, price, and delivery. And the disadvantages are that it's very time consuming, and you are on a time limit for when bid forms need to be turned in, and it can be manipulation when large amounts of money is involved. Here's an example of what a purchase order looks like, and it has the item name, it includes the item quote and code, and how many you want to order, the item price, and if you have any discounts, and then your total. You have variations of methods of purchasing. Cost plus purchasing is where the buyer agrees to buy certain items from a purveyor for a period they agreed on over the vendor's cost. The vendor's cost normally is the cost of material to the buyer plus any costs that occur in the packaging, loss of required trim, shrinkage from aging, and fabrication of products. Prime vending is a method of purchasing that gained popularity and acceptance among the restaurant industry and non-commercial buyers during the past year. The prime method includes formal agreements with a single vendor to supply the majority of products needed, such as frozen dairy, dry produce, beverages, and non-food categories. The prime agreement is a commitment to buy the specified amount for a certain amount of time. And the advantages of this is that you can have a reduced price, it's time saving, and you have a professional partnership between the vendors and the service. The blanket purchase agreement is used when a wide variety of items are purchased from local suppliers, but the exact items, quantities, and delivery requirements are not known in advance and may often vary. The BPA, which is the blanket purchase agreement, is where vendors make a charge account where supplies are ordered during a stated period of time. And when using this, you use more than one vendor, and it allows the buyer to identify the price creep, which can occur only when you only have one vendor. And then you have just-in-time purchasing, is an inventory and production planning strategy where the product is purchased in the exact quantities required for a specific production run and delivered in time to meet the production. The goal is to have little product in the inventory in effort to maximize cash flow. Space management is a big benefit and makes you have fresher products and for you to have practice and make sure shortages do not occur. Product selection. There are many factors that need to be considered when selecting certain products for a food service operation. Then you have market forms of food can be a big decision when choosing, and they have certain shape and temperature about them. Costs involved include purchases of fresh food versus partially prepared and ready-to-eat foods. Since some places have lack of space, food service managers may want to purchase partially or fully processed convenience items, but before making this decision, make sure to compare the cost and quality. Food service with their own kitchens can save on prepping by buying processed foods that are already cut, prepped, or even cooked. And then you have menu change happens a lot in food service, and because of the price and quality can affect the fruits and vegetables. The manager must find the right combination of available foods in a form that keep preparation to a minimum. Then you have food quality. Quality must be appropriate before purchasing food, and the top grade may not always be necessary, and lower grades also have nutrient value to them. The quality of food can be categorized by into quality standards, grades, and grading and acceptance service. The USDA Agriculture Marketing Service offers official grading or inspection for quality of meat or meat products, fresh and processed fruits and vegetables, poultry and eggs, and manufactured dairy products. This product is examined at the processing or packing plants or at the supplier warehouse by an official of the Agricultural Marketing Service. The product meets the specifications. The grader stamps with official stamp and issues a certificate indicating compliance. The list of different categories are meat, poultry, eggs, cheddar cheese, fresh produce, canned fruits and vegetables, frozen fruits, and frozen vegetables. And then food quality. Brands are assigned by a private organization. Produce processors and distributors attempt to establish a commodity as a standard product to develop demand for their own brands. Brand names may represent products that are higher or lower in quality than corresponding government grade, and private companies may set up their own grading system, but it could depend on the season. And there's a couple of like what the stamps look like once they're graded.
Okay, my name is Mason Calloway. I'm a nutrition and dietetics major, and I'm going to talk about the purchasing procedures. The purchasing procedures can be complex and complicated. They depend on the size and the type of an organization, as well as if the buying is centralized or decentralized. Procedures should be kept simple, with record keeping and paperwork should be limited to essential control and communication. Good purchasing practices should include appropriate buying methods, a systematic ordering schedule, maintenance of an equated flow of goods to meet production requirements, and inventory control. Identifying the needs. So planned menus are needed to understand and prepare for the quantities of food that are needed to ensure that recipes can be met and prepared with ease. A requisition is defined as an interdepartmental form that is used to request certain desired products, including food as well as supplies. A requisition is needed to request to purchase. It is the action that triggers the purchasing process. And the image to the right you can see is an example of the parts of a requisition. There's various parts, and usually you put the description, the price, the amount, whatever you need, the model, and you have to make sure that there's and understanding between the buyer and the person selling. So, continued of that, the inventory stock level is a crucial aspect of purchasing, where there is a maximum and minimum set number of certain items that need to be kept in check. The minimum stock level should include a safety factor for replenishing its stock, while the maximum should be equal to the safety stock as well as the estimated usage. The quantity to buy is how much food and supplies are purchased at a single time, as well as the amount of frequency that the order depends on in terms of finance and accounting procedures. This can vary anywhere between 2 to 6 month supplies. Perishables, which are in terms usually meats, chickens, vegetables, fruits. They're typically purchased for immediate days and can be ready and can be used 2 to 3 days later, but they want to keep them in stock pretty frequently. Milk and bread can be delivered several times a week, and canned goods can often have a much longer shelf life, so there's a less demand for them, and typically they'll last longer, so you don't have to purchase them and bring them in as possible. Specifications. A specification is an in-depth description of the product that is understood being sold and bought. The buyer and the seller should both understand what is being traded. This should be brief but contain clear information. There is certain information that must be specified for the food product, which should include the name of the product, federal grade or brand, unit on which price is quoted, name and size of the container, and the count per container or the approximate number per pound. Additional information can be included for certain products, canned foods, frozen foods, poultry, chicken, certain things like that. Issuing bid requests. So a bid request originates in the office of the person that is authorized to purchase from the food service. It provides vendors an opportunity to submit bids to obtain specific items needed by the buyer. The bid request should include the quantity required and specifications for each item. General conditions are outlined to meet acceptance requirements, including the date, the method of delivery, terms of payment, discounts, and the date of closing bids. So developing purchase orders. Purchase order is a way to authorize a purchasing agent so that needs and specifications can be met in order to compile various production goods and needs. There should be clear communication between the two. So the vendor should be aware of their name, or if there's multiple names of the authorized purchasing personnel. The purchasing order should specify the quantity of each item and requires the date. It should include the name of the organization as well as the individual that's making the request, and a signature is needed to authorize it to be signed and ordered. Here's an example of a purchasing order. As you can see, it's just, fairly basic: delivery date, shipping terms, description, the item number, the quantity. Okay, evaluating bids. Bids are to remain confidential and sealed until the appropriate time to be opened. They must be stamped, and that indicates the date and also the place of the receipt. The bids need to be under control of an appropriate official. If schools or other public institutions are to be involved, the context of bids should be open to the public. In most cases, public purchasing laws require that the reward should be made out to the lowest responsible bidder. There's 6 points to be considered before accepting a bid: the ability and capacity of the bidder to provide service and perform their contract, the ability of bidder to be able to provide their service promptly, as well as meet the time specified. The integrity and the reputation of the bidder should be considered, the quantity of the bidder's performance and their various previous works and services, the bidder's compliances in the law and specification relating to contracts or service, and the bidder's financial resources. Awarding contracts. To award a contract, it should be rewarded to the most responsive and responsible bidder. Typically, it needs the name, the address of the food service, the contract number, and the type of the list, the type of items, and the contract that the contract covers, and much more also required. Successful or unsuccessful, the bidders should still be notified after this. The contract is an issued contract, and it represents the legal acceptance of the offer that was made successful by the bidder. A couple more aspects of purchasing. There are many laws and regulations that must be met as well. And these all go under the code of the Uniform Commercial Code, which is the UCC, and it provides uniformity of laws to business. That way, no one's getting scammed or anything going wrong. The discussion question is: what are the major factors of purchasing? If you can tell us that, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much.